Playbook, Getting Started in Entrepreneurship. I have the privilege to introduce to you Sarah Jane, who is a two-time marketing agency founder with 7 years in digital marketing, has helped businesses generate over $5 million in revenue through Facebook ads. She now leads Fortune 500 expansions in entrepreneur sales, leveraging her marketing and sales expertise. Passionate about education, Sarah Jane also trains aspiring entrepreneurs at Facebook and with Business in the Streets, which is a Canadian nonprofit. Please welcome Sarah Jane.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. So today we will be discussing a creative's guide to entrepreneurship. And before we get into it, I want to share a little bit about myself. I think when you come to sessions like these, a lot of the time people are talking about their wins and all the amazing successes that they've had. But being honest, I've had a lot of failure during my journey as well. And I wanted to take some time to highlight some of those things too. So my name is Sarah Jane. I go by Sarah Jane or SJ. And some of my highlight reel, as was previously mentioned, is I spent over $2 million in advertising on social media. And what that means is that some of your favorite brands have paid me to advertise for them on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, and TikTok. I've helped my clients receive over $100,000 in funding from Google. I've spoken at over 15 conferences and community events worldwide. I am the proud dog mom to a very great Chihuahua. His name is Humbert. And I've worked with e-commerce founders in the fashion, hair, and beauty space and consult with some of your favorite brands across the United States. However, it has not always been sunshine and rainbows. Here are some of the things that I have failed at when it has come to business. The first being that in my first year of business, I did well, but I burnt out mentally and physically after making a good amount of money. And so I ultimately had to close my business's doors and focus on my health. I ended up firing all my clients and telling them, you need to go somewhere else. You need to go somewhere else because I can't do this anymore. And I ended up actually getting a job. And so at this job, for those of you who don't know, in marketing, the holiday season, Black Friday, Christmas, Hanukkah, is where most companies make the most of their money, right? And so Black Friday is a big day of the year for us, and I messed up. I put the wrong discount code in our advertisements that probably resulted in one of our clients losing a lot of money. So what ended up happening there was my boss ended up cutting my pay. So he was like, Sarah Jane, this is a big mistake. We're cutting your pay. And that really rocked my confidence. I was also on what you call the med school track. And so I don't know how many of you are of the mind that, you want to go to med school or dental or something like that. That was definitely the path that I believed to be on when I was in school. And I'm sitting here with you right now. So I did not go to med school, and that did not happen for me. And that was such a big rocking to my confidence. And then finally, I lost my very first client trying to sell them email marketing, which is just not what I do. And so throughout this journey, I have learned so much. There have been many highs, but there have also been many lows. And so today I want to share with you the keys to success in business. I have not done this once, but I have done this twice. And so in today's session, you'll be learning the foundational principles of entrepreneurship. You will get practical, actionable advice, and lots and lots and lots of examples. And so this is for you if you are a creative, you are an aspiring business owner, or if you are in a product-based, service-based business, content creator, and you are endlessly curious. And Natasha wants to know how we make it out of the hood. I actually do talk about that today. So look forward to hearing about Hamza's story. Okay, so this is also for you if you know that success takes a lot of time. It can be a very long journey. And when you're ready to take action, you will get actionable steps, and it's up to you to execute. And so if you want to be inspired to create, this is also for you. And so a little bit of an agenda for today as well. We're going to talk about motivation and how to get yourself to do things. We're going to go through picking a business idea, and then we're also going to talk about how you can build a business. So let's get into it, folks. Module 1, Action over motivation. And this is how you get yourself to do things. And if you have the time and if you're open to sharing, again, you can use the Q&A feature to ask questions, but I'd love to ask the room, like how you motivate yourself to do things. I don't know about you, but when I first got started, it was a battle of me against me, me versus me, and really trying to figure out how I could get out of the bed, stop rotting, and actually work on my goals and the things that I wanted for myself. And so in order to do that, we've got to talk about motivation. So I don't know about you, but I know about me. And I used to be the type of person who would go on YouTube and look for videos and like, oh, motivation to study. I know some of you guys have looked for motivation to study on YouTube. I know I have motivation for working out, motivation to do anything that you need to do, right? But the problem with watching a bunch of these videos is you feel good, right? But ultimately, at the end of the day, you have to do things for the motivation to count. If you watched a bunch of videos about, oh, I'm motivated to work out, but then that doesn't push you to actually work out, that wasn't very profitable for you. And so what we need to understand is that motivation is a process that is linked to behavior. If you watch all those videos and you don't actually do anything, it doesn't count, right? If somebody says that, oh, I'm motivated to learn how to drive, but I haven't booked a test, I didn't get an instructor, and I haven't actually stepped inside a car, we would doubt their motivations. And someone in the chat has said that doing this stuff gives you a false sense of productivity. And that is so true because it makes you feel like you're doing something, but you're actually not doing something, right? And so it's important for us to understand that there is no motivation without movement. If you do not move, motivation is not real. It's just a really great video you watched and it felt good. But ultimately, if you do not take an action, nothing has happened. So how do we get ourselves to do stuff? How do we get ourselves to take the next step, start working on our business, start studying, start doing the things that we want to do? Well, you have to do something small first, right? Too many of us believe that there is a specific moment. I'm going to meet the right person. People say, something clicked in my brain. You think there's a chance meeting that will change your life, and that's just not true. Believe me, I have tried. I used to be that person that was looking for the one moment where things switched up for me. It is not real. What actually happens is that it's a combination of small actions that you take consistently that will allow you to move forward. And in Business in the Streets, this is literally what we teach you to do. So here's the unspoken rule of motivation. You act your way into feeling what you want, okay? You don't feel good and then act. You act and then you feel. Anybody who goes to the gym, you don't feel good when you're out there. When you get in there and do the thing and come out, you feel really good about yourself. And you feel really good because you took action, right? That is the point of these things. And so maybe you start working on something, you start working on yourself, and you feel like you're showing up, but you're not really seeing any changes, right? I don't know about you, but if I've ever like, oh, I want to be fit or et cetera, again, it doesn't change in a day. So I want to show you this visual, and don't worry about the name of the graph. I want you to focus on the red line, right? This is called the plateau of latent potential. And so what we think would happen is if I continuously work at this thing, I should improve. It should work out for me. My progress should be linear and go straight up this black line, right? Every time I do something good, if I eat a vegetable today, tomorrow I should see changes. But that's really not how that works. And what tends to happen is we get stuck in this area called the valley of disappointment. And all that is that we're working on stuff, but we're not seeing any changes, right? And a lot of the time we give up too quickly when we're working on something. We are like, oh, it's not working, I'm just going to give up and maybe try something new, try a new method. But progress doesn't happen like that. Progress takes time. There will be a period of time where you're working on something. And then after you've put in like a lot of work and a lot of effort, slowly you'll start to see yourself improve, and slowly you'll get better and better. But if you do not take the time to continuously work on this thing, it will not happen for you. You need to stick around for long enough for it to work. And I don't know about all of you, what maybe brought you here to start wanting to take this session, but I want to give you an example specifically about podcasting. Okay. So read this tweet with me. 90% of podcasts do not get past episode 3. That is 1.8 million people who quit every year. So there's 2 million people who, do podcasts every year. 90% of those podcasts do not make it past episode 3. I want you to let that sink in. That means that 90% of people who start podcasting, they get discouraged by having 1 to 5 viewers. I don't know if any of you guys had a YouTube era. I did. I started making content too. I had my time. But the fact of the matter is, if you lose momentum and you quit, that's most people. That's 90% of people. So of the 200,000 people who are left, 90% of them will quit after 20 episodes. So maybe there's some of us who are like, I could do it more than 3 episodes for sure. But when they got to 20, 90% of those people had also quit. And again, that means that they lost motivation. The views weren't really moving for them. They were like, okay, this sucks. And they quit. And so in order for you to be in the top 1% of podcasters in the world, you only need to publish 21 episodes. And so does that mean that, okay, if I post 21 podcast episodes, you're going to be racking in the cash? Absolutely not. What this does mean is that you need to be able to stick around for long enough to see the fruits of your labor. You need to stick around long enough for it to actually work out for you. Too many of us are expecting things to happen super fast, super soon, ASAP, really soon. But the fact of the matter is, if we just commit and we stick to it, I promise you, it will pan out. I'm giving you stats and facts and numbers. To be in the top 1%, you literally just need to publish 21 episodes and beyond. If you feel like the steps are too small to count, like someone has put in the Q&A, like you have to do it all or nothing. I used to be that way. I used to be the type of person that was like all or nothing, or it's not there. But what tends to happen when you have that all or nothing mentality is it usually ends in nothing. It's grinding and posting 5 podcast episodes and then not posting again ever, right? Because you keep on forcing it and you're not taking the time to actually take small steps. Right? It's better for you to get 1% better every day than to force all this energy and this time into one specific moment and not be able to stretch that out along the way. For myself, in my business, and remember, I run a social media marketing company, so I work with brands to help them advertise online. These are such good questions. Someone has asked, how do you find that thing is worth grinding out for and seeing through despite failure? Just wait for it. I have so many examples to share with you today. So this is how I did, right? And I want to show you and tell you the truth, right? I started a business the first time around, and let me tell you what happened. So the first step, I was in school for psychology. I realized, I'll be honest, I wasn't going to do anything with the degree. So I wanted to start a business. And I joined BITS, which is the organization that I teach, the YCEO program, because I am type A. I like structure. And joining a program was perfect for me. It was also free. That was a big motivating factor as well. And so when I was in BITS, in the YCEO program, I received opportunities within the 15 to 20 people who I was in the class with to do presentations and talks, literally what I'm doing right now. So this was me with no speaking experience. I had never done a talk before, but in this picture is actually my first talk ever in the world. And I got that opportunity from someone at BITS. And then it started to become like a snowball effect. People started asking me to come and talk about social media. And I knew a little bit about social media because I was doing that all throughout school. I had my own little YouTube channels here or there. They were never wildly successful with hundreds of thousands of subscribers, but remember, I was just doing it because I liked to do it. And I was also freelancing on the sides. I was taking on like these tiny projects and getting paid peanuts, by the way, throughout school. But that's what really made me understand that I can make this an actual business and do this for a job. So after that, I hosted my own event. So I sold tickets and had my own little small event. And my very first client was in that room. It took me 6 to 7 months of speaking for free for $0.00, going around and having people say, can you come and talk at my event? And they paid me $0.00, but I saw the vision. I was like, yes, I'm going to do it. I need people to know who I am because nobody knows who I am. I need to like understand entrepreneurship and be around business owners. And I feel like I might be able to convince somebody to buy from me in one of these rooms. So it took me 6 to 7 months to get the first person to pay me $1. And my first client from speaking took me around 9 months, right? And so something that I want us to understand or walk away from today is that entrepreneurship is nonlinear. And that's just a really great way of saying that there is no rule book for this. When you're through school, you go from kindergarten to grade 1 to grade 2, all the way to 8, all the way to 12. And that is a step-by-step process. The pathway is kind of laid out for you. But for entrepreneurship, there is no way, right? You have to understand that you must create your own path. You must figure it out on your own. There is no, dare I say, degree for business. There is, but in a sense that there's no degree for like entrepreneurship. You don't just finish with a degree in entrepreneurship and have a fully successful running business. You have to kind of figure it out. So module 1 in review, action breeds motivation. If you do things, you'll be inspired to do more things. And secondly, all good things take time. Do not give up. Don't give up. Oh, you have over 7,000 subscribers on YouTube. So I'm kind of going through the questions that people have. Congratulations. Critical thinking is required to make your own path, and you need to learn yourself. And a lot of insight is being shared today. So I want you to start thinking about BITS is an online community. If you just go to businessinthestreets.com, you can sign up and I teach the program. So you just have more of me, but it's free. And I do think go on the website if that's something that you're interested in. Okay. Is it worth going to post-secondary because it's very expensive? I still went to school and I still recommend it. I'll answer these questions, these specific ones that are not related to content, a little bit after if we have the time. What do I think about drop shipping and that sort of stuff? That's within my realm of expertise. I think in 2024, you might need to maybe pick a different method of business, but you know, there's still ways. And I want to really hold on to the question that how do you find out if that thing is worth grinding out and seeing through despite failure? We're going to talk about that right now. So module 2, picking your business idea. What should you do, right? Some people are like, should I be doing drop shipping? Should I be doing XYZ? Like, what do I do, right? So in order for you to actually pick a business idea, you first need to create something people want and will pay for. Something that people want and will pay for. Because it's okay for someone to want it, but if they're not willing to give you money for it, irrelevant. Number 2, something that you are interested in. If you are interested in something, that might be something that you might want to do and pick your business in. And number 3, something that you are good at. If we look within ourselves and look at, oh, something is good, I'm good at this or I'm good at that, that might be something you want to look at as well. As Tristan said, some people will start a side business while they're in post-secondary. That's exactly what I did. I started side hustling and working when I was in university. And yes, I'm going to make sure I answer the questions at the break. So keep on putting them in here. But for you, you need to focus on creating something people will pay you for. Remember, if your aim and goal is business and money, like you've got to figure out how you can get people to pay you for something that is good. So I want you to meet Hamza, and this is specifically for PS, who said that they wanted to know if something was worth grinding out for. So this is Hamza. He was the founder of Altius Fit, which is it's a business that essentially is teaching people to be their own personal trainer. So he went to school for kinesiology. So for those in the room who are like, should I go to post-secondary? Absolutely. I still think it is very relevant, and you'd be putting yourself at a disservice if you did not. My personal opinion, of course. But he was in school for psychology. If you're seeing a trend, I was in school, Hamza was in school, and that kind of allowed us to kind of discover some of our interests, right? He had a passion for fitness. And so his main motivation, I think it was, I don't know who asked this at the beginning, was like, oh, how do I get out the hood? This was literally Hamza's motivation. He was literally like, I want to get out of TCH, which is like Toronto Community Housing. That was literally his only thing. And so he started a business. And so Altius Fit, this is an opportunity with his friends who didn't know how to work out, right? He was in school and he realized that, oh my gosh, like everyone's getting the freshman 15, like What should I do? And so he launched a training program to teach them. But he eventually found out that, man, students don't really have a lot of money. So unfortunately, you know, he had something he was interested in. He had something that he was good at. He had something that people would pay for. Well, he did not have something that people would pay for, unfortunately. Students are kind of broke. They didn't have the money to pay for this. So Altius Fit 1.0 did not work out. But Hamza stayed at it and realized, okay, I've got something here. Like maybe if I pivot, if I switch, if I change some things around, I can make it work. He decided to go after corporate. So corporate businesses, big companies, think the big buildings. It was during the pandemic. Everyone was working from home. And it was a competitive hiring environment as well. For those who don't know, during the pandemic was the best time to get a job because everybody was hiring and everyone was also quitting. So the issue with that was while Hamza had some success with it, he wasn't able to really teach corporations like 30, 40, 50 people to do their own training and things like that. So again, Hamza found something he was interested in. He was good at fitness. He was in school for kinesiology. He found people who would pay for it. Again, he had a lot of success with some corporate, think like big coffee brands. But again, he wasn't really good at delivering the programs virtually or at scale. So this is a little message he posted on LinkedIn when he hit his 5-year anniversary, and he shut the doors of his business, right? So for those who are asking, how do you know? At least give yourself an opportunity to pivot, to switch around, to change things up. That's how you'll know, like, okay, if I gave it a second shot, it didn't work out. Don't quit so soon. So what is Hamza doing right now? Well, Hamza, like many of us, he grew up in the YouTube era, in the YouTube age. And so he was specifically really into video essayists, so people who just like make content, long form content online. And he realized that he had become quite comfortable with selling. One skill that he developed while he was doing Altius was learning how to sell to people, meaning get people to give you money in exchange for product. And that is a valuable skill. So remember, even though the business didn't necessarily work out, he pulled so many skills from the first business that he was able to put into the second one. And so he thought that young creators might be leaving money on the table because they know how to record and make content, but they might not know how to like sell and make money. So that is why he launched into Bellvines. And this is what Hamza is doing now. So he picked something that he was interested in, YouTube creators, something that he was good at. He understood how to sell, and something that people would pay for, meaning that creators know content, they do not know business. And where is he today? Well, Hamza is now providing influencer management services for YouTube creators. So he's the person who gets people brand deals, and he's doing absolutely great. And people pay him on every deal that he brings to them. Takeaways here, and then I'm going to get to the questions. Curiosity is key. You need to come into this looking to solve a problem. You need to identify how you can provide value at this stage. Be curious, be interested. Where at the age that you're at right now, this is literally where I went to school and started freelancing. At your age, 17, 18, I literally went to school, university, and I was like, all right, I need to like start hustling, figure something out for myself. I took those 4 or 5 years to figure things out and learn things and grow things and do my YouTube and all of those things. So you might ask yourself, oh, I need to pick and do right now. I promise you, everything that I learned doing YouTube, everything that I learned like doing side gigs for business owners for $100 is what allowed me to build the business that I'm building and living in right now. So this passionate and excited energy can take you so far. So in review, focus on providing something people actually want. Everything else will take time and change, and keep at it. Time for the questions. Okay. AM says, where's Bits? Again, this is something that is an online platform. It's called businessinthestreets.com. How do I continue to motivate myself throughout the process of reaching my long-term goal? If I'm being honest with you, I wanted to move out of my parents' house. I wanted to live downtown Toronto. I wanted to like take my own life into my own hands. That was my biggest motivating factor. And I knew that I wouldn't be able to do that if I didn't like work on my business or myself. For me, I saw my business as a way for me to like get my own independence. I grew up like really sheltered. And so I wanted to just live a life like a regular human being. And that was my motivating factor. You said you did a few freelancing jobs through high school, more specifically uni and college. So some of the things that I did posting on classifieds for businesses. So for example, small business owners would pay me 100 or 200 bucks a month, which was very cheap, but I would make ads for them on like Kijiji. So that's literally text. You just like write like, oh, hey, this business is looking to sell XYZ. Please contact them. So I would make those things for them every day. Was there ever a point that I reached a roadblock and weren't sure of what to do? Absolutely. There was a point in time where Facebook made some changes to their platform, and that made advertising very hard and expensive. And it definitely took a toll on me. I did take a break. That's kind of where business 2 got started. And I had to reassess. Someone mentioned that their worries with ADHD and autism, motivation is hard because part of you survives off a schedule and while the other likes chaos. Is there any tips for motivation for those who are neurodivergent? So I too am neurodivergent. I think the biggest thing is to literally just give yourself tiny, small goals. Tiny, 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 small, 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 little goals. I don't know about you, but for me, I have a habit tracker app that allows me to like put something like a star for myself essentially when I do something small, but that really helps me. Like it motivates me to keep going. So I'm like, look how pretty this screen is. Like it's all green. So yeah, I would recommend that. Someone wants me to explain what I do. I am a social media marketer. I have a social media marketing agency. What a good business to do in 2024 is. About to figure that out today together. What if I want to do something arts-based? It's hard to find demand, but it does exist. You absolutely can do and create something arts-based. It is in like the name, it's for creative. So I definitely think that in the next coming slides, I have some examples for you. Starting a clothing brand worth it? It can be. Do I suggest DECA? I wish I was more involved in school stuff. So I guess, I don't know specifics. Any books that will help? My favorite book in the world is Mastery by Robert Greene. I put that in the chat. That I read in, I no word of a lie, read that book in 3 days. That is what motivated me during my business. You don't have to be like me. Remember at the time, I had no job and I was in school, so I had a lot more time. But yeah, Mastery is my favorite book. Do you spend more late nights or early mornings on your business? At the time, when I was first starting, I spent all the time on my business. Drop shipping, again, like I said, I have no shade to any form of online business choice, as long as you write it out. I'm glad that you found this was helpful. I think you should make the right choice for you as to whether or not you should go to university. However, I highly recommend, if this is something that you can do, to go and try. Believe me, like I can't even go too deep into it because we don't have enough time and I have to cover this content, but I genuinely believe that like post-secondary vibes, they definitely can help and support you on your journey. So many things and people, it's a big networking element as well. Nobody wants to talk about that. But like you can meet so many people who will be like lifelong friends and mentors in school as well. Is SMMA oversaturated? Yes, but so is having a coffee shop or owning a clothing brand, yet we buy coffee and clothes every single day. If you have a physical business and you want to scale it, you should follow me on Instagram because that's all I ever talk about. And my Instagram is, I've just put it in the chat. Is it better to make connections with others early or when your business is well established? Networking is a thing that you should be doing all the time. So definitely make connections as you can. Can you start a business if you're 13? I honestly don't know. It's been a long time since I've been 13. You should still be here whether you're 15. You should be here if you want to be here. Would you recommend working for a business before starting your own? Absolutely. That is what I did as well. And the business that I'm in, just for an explanation, I do social media ads. Okay, enough questions. I'm going back into it and back into the content. But you can keep on putting the questions in there. I will get to them eventually. So building a business without breaking the bank. How do we build a business without, going broke? You have to start small for now. right? A lot of us are very young from what it looks like. I think I've realized that you guys are not all seniors. You guys are in high school. So not all of you are 17 or 18. My apologies. So yeah, you have to start small, right? A lot of you probably don't have jobs. A lot of you probably don't have funding. You have to start small. You have to ask yourself, what is the simplest, cheapest way that I can do this? If we do not have a lot of resources, if we do not have a lot of money, we have to make use of what we have. How can we make use with what we have access to right now? This is the information that we really need to be focusing on. How can you borrow from somebody in terms of like equipment should you need it? You should really, really be focusing on not what you don't have, but the things that you do have. So, for example, if you wanted to, I need a really expensive camera. This is a really big trap that everyone falls into. I need all the good gear. I need the good gear. I need the good gear, cameras, all that type of stuff in order to create. And the fact of the matter is, you do not have to do that. If you really need something that will help you like on a job to make money. So for example, if you're an aspiring photographer and you might actually need a camera to shoot something, you can rent that, right? You don't have to like find $5,000 to buy the newest and brightest camera out there. There are companies that will rent you a camera for a couple of hours so you can learn how to use it. You can test things out with a small level of investment, and it still allows you to deliver well. If you're an aspiring content creator, I'm seeing some YouTube in the chat or vloggers, and you might want to purchase a new camera. This camera can sometimes cost you like $1,000 or more. You have a smartphone, likely you have a cell phone that has an amazing camera. Can you use that for now to get things started? If you're into content or vlogging and things like that, iPhones and cell phones in general have state-of-the-art cameras. You can absolutely make it very far just by using your camera on your phone. So for example, you might give yourself a goal where you're like, okay, I'm going to use my iPhone camera until I get 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. Once I get 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, then I'll look into maybe buying a new camera. So this is what I mean by like giving yourself small little steps along the way. And I use a habit tracker to do that. So keeping it honest, something that I have literally started today is I want to start going to Pilates and fitness classes. I went to my first one yesterday. It was great. But I want to make a commitment to myself to go at least twice a week. And so I told myself if I do that for twice a week until the end of the year, I'll splurge and spend some money on some headphones for myself for the gym and stuff like that. So this is how you can like reward yourself after you've done the work, because it would really suck for you to spend $5,000 on a camera, you don't use it, and then you're down $5,000. So you need to think about getting from point A to point B before you start thinking about point A to point Z. You can get clients or work with just an iPhone. Okay, let me answer some additional questions. Where did I find these side gigs? I made them up. I literally went on Kijiji and was like, hi, I'm like, I didn't say I was a student. People love to take advantage of students, but I was just like, oh, I will post your ads for you. Again, it's different now, I'm sure, but you can pick up the phone and call businesses. You can email businesses, so many different ways. Again, for teens, you don't have money, but you have energy, right? So like there are many things that you can do, like just because of your age, like you have access and knowledge. I will be honest, I came up during the social media age where like businesses were looking at social media and like, oh, what's Facebook? Like businesses were saying, oh, what's Instagram? I grew up during that time, so I took advantage of that. The fact that I was young was an advantage for me in my business because I was 17 and I knew that, okay, these older people who are running businesses who are like 40 or 50, they know nothing about Facebook. I can absolutely do that for them. They know nothing about Instagram. So your youth is actually an advantage. So again, side hustles and things that you can do, it depends on your interests. But I would highly recommend just like taking advantage of the things that you know. How do I start advertising on my own? You should check out my Instagram. How do you avoid burnout and make sure that you don't take on too much? I wish I could tell you because I burnt out the first time. I'm not sure I'm the best person to answer that question for you. How can you motivate yourself to study instead of procrastinating? I don't know. Think about what would happen to you if you didn't study and where you would end up. And I don't know about you, but I was very happy when I was able to take the money that I made from my own business to move out of my parents' house. I had never had a formal job at that time. I had never worked for someone else. I had made that money myself, and I was able to move out to my condo in Toronto, have a little chihuahua. I live a very great life, but that was only because I hustled, and it didn't work out for me necessarily in going to grad school or anything like that. But I did finish my degree, and I started on my business. At this age, should you prioritize business or school? You should absolutely prioritize school. I think let me finish this, then I'm going to answer all the questions. Can I get a time check on how much time I have left, please? I just want to make sure I'm keeping the time. In my mind, I have 10 more minutes, but
Yeah.
just want to make
Yeah,
awesome.
about 10.
All right, Amazon had the vision of the everything store from day one. Bezos knew that there would be a day where you would be able to buy everything online. But he started his business in 1994. And in 1994, people were scared to put their credit cards online. So he needed to know if people were willing to buy products. And so he started an online bookstore and became obsessed with constant improvements. I don't know if you guys know, but Amazon at one point in time only sold books. And so I want you to kind of look at this as a green light, right? And so this is for someone who asked about burnout. Bezos at the time was one person with no resources. Well, no resources with an asterisk. So maybe not as many resources as we would think. And so he went on to create Amazon and first sold books. And then when it worked out, he sold CDs and DVDs, if you guys even know what those are. And then he finally sold stationery like pens and pencils and things like that. If Bezos started out and immediately went over to stationery, it might not have worked out for him because he would not have had the resources, aka the money, the energy, the systems in place to sell. So for us, it's really important for us to start small and think big. You might have a big idea for the future, but you need to figure out how you can get started right now. I want to give you another example. This is one of the people who went through BIT. Her name is Thari. She is from Mexico. And I don't know if you guys know, but there's a grain called amaranth. It is gluten-free and it is native to South America. And it's kind of like quinoa. And so it's a healthy situation. And so we don't have a lot of that in Canada or the US. So she imported it. And then once she had a few sales, she started popping it. And that's what you see in the bag over there. It's like popped amaranth, which you can sprinkle on like yogurt and things like that. And then she decided to start making granola bars. Well, not granola, amaranth bars. So again, this was a process for her. She had the capacity to only do amaranth initially. When she got the green light after that, she made popped. After that, she made the bars. If she would have went out immediately and said that, oh, I'm going to just go straight to making amaranth bars, that would be very difficult and very hard. It would not have worked out for her. And honestly, the same thing happened for me. When I started out my first business, I only ran ads for product-based businesses. I met my business partner and she ran ads for service-based businesses. So a product-based business is like a physical store, an online store, people who are selling physical products that they can ship to you. And the service ads are like for the dentist or like a lawyer. And so together we offer now ads for all businesses. But if I would have just decided to start doing ads for everyone, it probably would not have worked out. What I'm trying to make the takeaway of this is focus on what you can do now. And the best business is the one that you can deliver on right now. Be resourceful, work with what you have, and you can work on your bigger idea later. Do not let perfectionism stop you. Start small and think big. So the takeaways for you today are get started. You are a resource that needs to be managed. If you need to manage yourself, your motivation levels, your output, the biggest benefit or the biggest takeaway I took from building my first business when I was still living at my parents' house was literally being able to give myself the energy to sit on a chair and do my work. Literally, that being able to sit on a chair at my computer and do my work was the lesson of my first business. Once I learned how to do that, believe it or not, that's when the business took off. So when people say that, oh, should I go to school? Should I not go to school? What have you? I always say that you're not going to become a different person if like you don't do school, right? At the end of the day, if you can't sit down and make yourself study now, I don't think you're going to be able to sit down and make yourself do the hard work when it comes to building a business as well. Can I get a time check, please, into how much time I have left?
So you have 5 minutes.
Perfect. 5 minutes. We're going to do a fire round of Q&As. Let me go through this question. Where do I find side gigs? You kind of make up your own side gigs. Kijiji, Facebook Marketplace, things like that. How should people start with networking? Just talk to people, make friends. That's how that begins. Don't make it like weird, because that can also be an odd experience. The more you're able to be social, talk to people, talk to strangers, that'll help you endlessly. I don't think dropshipping is dead. It just wasn't the business that I chose. What are the key challenges young creatives face when starting their own business? Any strategies you'd recommend for overcoming them? Conquer yourself, you can conquer your business. How can I make a product that I'm selling different or wanted by people from other companies? You got to figure out your unique selling point. How can I get inspiration for something people want? You got to research. Go look up, pick 5 or 6 businesses and make something. Like there's something called a SWOT analysis. If you're really trying to compare like what people, different types of companies do, pick 5 businesses and do that. What app do I use for goals? Let me get it for you right now. The app that I use is called Habit Share. It's like, I don't know what you guys can see, but it's a little green thing. It's called Habit Share. Recommendations for colleges with good business programs. I don't know, because I didn't go to school for business. I went to school for psychology. How do you come up with a personal brand? Pick up the camera, start recording, and go from there. I have done so much content in my life. I've had many different eras, but that's what has allowed me to do things like what I'm doing right now, which is talk to you guys. If your business fails, pick yourself back up again. Mine did. Hamza's did. It's kind of part of the process. How much money do you make? I'm not going to tell you that. How much money do you need to get started? I started my business with $500 and I got it as a grant from Business in the Streets. How has running a business changed since COVID? For me, it actually went very well because I work online. The world went online during COVID and worked for me. A career in esports, haven't found the right steps to take. You should find them. How long did it take to get my first client in SMMA? 6 to 7 months. But realistically, I was taking like courses online and stuff like that during school. Post-secondary advice on choosing a program. Honestly, whatever program, pick the program that you feel like you will do well in and you enjoy. I think when you think about life after your undergrad, you very quickly come to realize that it's not all sunshine and rainbows. You can use whatever degree that you have to get where you need to be. Programming and building a SaaS business, it's great. Programming is great. Building a SaaS business is difficult, just like the rest. Should I get a mentor? Yes, you get mentors. You should. If you, what would you recommend for someone trying to start a clothing brand? The same thing I recommended to everyone here today. Figure out what people want. What can you do to fight your anxiety? Honestly, like for myself, it's developing systems. There's a really good book called, what is it called? The Habit something. It's by James Clear. And it says something with habits in it. It's really popular. If you Google it, you'll find out. You're 15, struggle to figure out what's open to your age. Tax is a problem. You don't need insurance or anything like that, or taxes when you were like 15. I promise. Government is not checking for you. Just get out there, sell some stuff, and figure out that stuff later. You only really need to start doing the tax stuff. This is not financial advice when you hit 30 grand a year if you live in Ontario, so you're fine. I have 1 minute left from what it looks like, right?
Yes.
So I only have 1 minute left. Unfortunately, I cannot answer all of these questions, but I'm so glad that you have them. Again, you can find me on Instagram, my full name at instagram.com, and you can definitely ask me questions if that's allowed. If not, thank you guys so much for the time, and it's been an absolute pleasure for me.
Just want to thank you, Sarah Jane. Wow, you can just tell that the demand is there based on the amount of questions that you got, and they're still going. Are you in the exhibition booth by chance where they could maybe go see you there?
I actually don't know what the exhibition boost
Okay,
is, so
so
I
then you're
don't think I'm
probably
in it.
not. So the Instagram would be a place for them. Just want to share so much that you made yourself vulnerable with all your ups and downs to show us that it's not a linear path. And thanks for all the concrete and the stats. We could have gone on for half an hour. Thanks everybody for your amazing questions. You were so engaged. And yeah, please reach out to Sarah. She's invited you. Thanks everybody. Have a good
Yes.
rest of the day.
All right. Bye, guys.